Hey everyone. So I want to talk today about an issue really dear to my heart, and I think something that is on the thoughts of lots of people in this world that is seeing so many changes just all across the globe. You know, living in a world of global climate change and deforestation and all of these just vast problems that you find across our world. And I'm a conservation biologist, and as part of my career, it's my job to help fight a lot of these changes that are happening and help create a better world where the wildlife on our planet can sustain themselves and live in the same world that has humans on its surface. And a question that I think a lot of people have, and something that I've been able to develop somewhat of an answer to for myself for this is, how do you hold on to hope in a world that's so deeply broken in so many ways when there's so many problems across its surface? And so in today's video, I really wanted to talk about just how I accomplished that as a person and as a conservation biologist, because it's no lie that the world's wildlife is in immense trouble, that we are living in a catastrophic time of monumental change, but we still have to do something to help save that wildlife. And the question is how? How do you gain the mental resolve to do something about it in the face of such adversity? And so I really want to talk about how I approach these kinds of issues as a conservation biologist, how I go about looking at the world and finding ways to keep positive, to keep enthusiastic, to keep making sure that the change I want to see amongst wildlife species across the world happens. So first of all, I'm what I call a bullheaded optimist. And it's this idea that I believe in the potential for change and the potential for things to be better, regardless of the overall magnitude of the problem. And one way that I accomplish that is to think about what in particular my definition of success is. And I think this is honestly at the core of a huge amount of the problems that people see in this world, is that I think we're often chasing an unrealistic goal for success, an unrealistic standard for what we think of as the goal in conservation or any kinds of activism across the planet. So the way I think about it as a conservationist is my goal isn't to chase some kind of, mythical Shangri-La. The world is not going to return to its pristine state that we saw in times before human contact on the planet. And I think that if that ends up being a person's standard for whether or not they've succeeded in making the world better, then it's a recipe for disaster. You cannot go approaching things saying either we fix the entire world or we don't do anything. Either we fix the entire world or we failed. That's just not a way of going about things that can have any actual impact. And instead, I kind of think of it this way. There are really two states to the world. In state number one, we have no hope and we do nothing. At state number two, we see the odds and we still work to make the world better. And that's really the outcome that I'm shooting for, because that second world will always be better than that first world. A world where we do things to make things better will be better than a world without it. And it's not going to be a perfect world. It's not going to be pristine, but it's going to be better. And that really is what I focus on. I don't ask to make a world where all of the damage that we've done to the environment is reversed. The reality is that we live in what we call the Anthropocene. This is a world of unparalleled human change upon our planet. And so the question we need to ask ourselves is not how can we revert these changes, but how can we live in a planet that has a sustainable space for us and for wildlife? How can we exist in ways that allow both of us to coexist? And that's really, I think, the fundamental question in conservation. I'm in particular interested in the conservation of wildcat species, these kinds of apex predators in the world's ecosystems. And we found that they're incredibly resilient animals. Like, these are creatures that can, if given just the slightest amount of space, find ways to coexist with humans and live in a way that allows them to engage in their world and allows humans to do what they do. One of my favorite stories along these lines, just to kind of show how resilient and clever and able to explore and take any kind of advantage they can, is there was a mountain lion researcher that I spoke to at a conference in 2011. So there's a mountain lion researcher that I spoke to in 2011, and they were tracking this adult male mountain lion, and they're tracking its location within these properties in this suburban landscape. And they found that this cat had been staying underneath the porch of some family. And for over a week, it was moving through this neighborhood, going in between these houses and into the more forested landscape for over a week straight before it eventually left the place. And nobody there had any idea that the animal was living amongst them. It found ways to work its way through the human landscape. It saw the ebb and flow of how people function and all these things, and it was able to adapt. It figured out how to coexist. And so it's my firm belief that wildlife, if given even the slightest bit of space, if given the slightest relief on the pressure valve, are entirely capable of manifesting just this incredible resilience. And I really do genuinely believe that the future world that we will live in, if we work to make things better, will be a world that simultaneously has people and these animal species. But I think that this really applies to everything in just all aspects of our planet. This isn't just a video for other conservation biologists. This isn't just a video for people who care about wildlife. It's a video about a philosophy of how to maintain hope in a world that seems hopelessly broken. And I genuinely do think that the answer here is to understand that the goal is to make things better. And if you focus on that goal, if you ask yourself, how can I make the world a better place, instead of asking yourself, how can I fix the world will be improved. And ultimately, I really do believe that that's what we can really ask for. And if you have this mindset, the world will be improved. It'll be improved incrementally, and it will be improved at the hands of people who refuse to give in to the negativity that exists, who refuse to be overwhelmed by the vast odds, and who really want nothing more than to make the world better. And that's what drives me as a conservation biologist. And I hope for at least some of you who feel like you've given up hope on this world, that this video will help inspire you to work to make the world better at whatever scale you can. Make the world better in your neighborhood and your families, be somewhat kinder to people, and focus on those incremental changes, and note that the value that you brought to this world is that the world is now better than it was. And so with that said, I really hope that you appreciated this video and can kind of understand what drives me as a conservation biologist, and can have some of that despair that I think so many people have felt over the last number of years, and have it turned on its head. Have you help make the world a better place, and don't give up hope. And giving up hope is how you guarantee that nothing will happen. Don't think that any given action, however small, is insignificant, because all you can really do is make the world better. And so I think with that said, I'm going to end this video here, show you some of this beautiful, beautiful Montana landscape I have around me. And I really want to thank you for your company here. If you enjoyed this conversation, if this video inspired you in some way, I'm going to ask you to like the video, comment below how it helped develop your own thoughts, and subscribe for more if you want to explore this world with me and help inspire yourself about some of the wonders of nature that I see in this world. And until next time, in your own lives, wander and wonder.